Hi everyone, can everyone hear me, by the way? Just testing. From the back? Yes, no? Alright. To very quickly introduce myself, my name is Turgut Özal. I'm the Executive Vice Chairman, Board Member, and one of the founding members of IPA, Artificial Intelligence Policies Association. On a professional level, I'm a Senior Manager at Spain & Company. Today, also as an alumni of LSE in London, it excites me to be back in London for another milestone, which is establishing IPA's London chapter, led by our fearless leader Zafer and our head of our London chapter, Ulash. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this historic day. More importantly, thank you very much to our hosts here at the embassy and our ambassador, Mr. Aytash, both for his speech and hosting us at the residency today. It's my honor to start off the first panel, which is subjected the impact of artificial intelligence in developing countries from an economic standpoint. Today we have a distinguished group of guests with diverse backgrounds, each bringing a unique perspective that really excites me. So allow me to quickly introduce our guests, and then we can get into the discussion. Firstly, we have, so I've written this in a different order, so I'm just going to, I should have said it. We'll start with Peyton Dobbs. Peyton is a partner at Hoxton Ventures, one of the largest London-based VCs focused on early-stage European startups. Before Hoxton, Peyton was GM of Google's hardware business in Europe, which he led the integration of Nest Labs with Tony Fadon. Prior to that, he held various positions at Google's ad business. In terms of education, he holds a dual degree from Vanderbilt University in Engineering and Applied Math. He also studied architecture at Harvard's Grad School of Design and has an MBA in finance from LBS. We also have, with Peyton, we have Amit joining us. Again, sorry for the order. Amit works as a transformation and change director at UBS Asset Management. His career spans over 20 years in FI financial institutions, where he held various positions in institutions such as Barclays, HSBC, and Fidelity, both in London as well as Melbourne. Also, you moved from New York to here in 2000.
Yes.
He holds, in terms of education, an MBA from Imperial Business College School. Then we have Vishal with us. Vishal is a managing director at leading quantum tech company, Terra Quantum. His team works with executives across industries to solve some of their most complex problems with the help of quantum computing. And just to give a refresher for those who might not be familiar with the topic, quantum computing is often heralded as the future of computing and can help significantly accelerate the development of AI. Vishal has a background in management consulting and in financial services, where he was the CEO of the investment fund, Copper Street Capital. In terms of education, he was trained as a computer engineer and has an MBA from IE Business School in Spain and Wharton in Pennsylvania, US. Finally, we have Fabio Ardosi. Fabio is an innovator. Finally, last but not least, is a partner at Data Reply UK, a leader in data automation and analytics, and AI. He has 15 plus years in data and analytics industry with a focus on the use of innovation technologies across industries to drive data and AI transformation. All right. He has worked through very different waves of tech, from traditional data to big data bubbles, and now on the innovative edge between intelligent systems. Finally, in terms of education, Fabio holds a master's degree in computer science and ICT management. Now, I specifically wanted to take the time to introduce our distinguished panelists well, and honestly, I don't think even the summaries I did right now captures your expertise, but I wanted to show how diverse and really strong the discussion will be coming from. So when we get to the topic, we know that AI has the potential to significantly alter economics globally. However, its impact may not be felt equally, especially in developing nations versus developed nations. Now, from your varied perspectives, what do you identify as the key economic opportunities and challenges facing developing countries as they adopt and leverage AI technologies? What I suggest is, given in terms of timing, we have 45 minutes plus some time for Q&A, and then reception. We could each do maybe 5 to 8 minutes quickly responses, and if there's a follow-up, we can continue. You want to go by the order or by the... Okay. All right, maybe we can start with you, Fabio, then.
I can start, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for the introduction. So my background is mostly technology. In the last years, I worked in the side of digital and data transformation. But most of my work through my team is around the use of data and AI into the strategies of different organizations. The team I'm working is cross industries, so I have the luck, I can say in this way, that I can see how data and AI are used in different ways. Artificial intelligence was a very great introduction, part with ChatGPT, which is interesting state-of-the-art technology. But it shows how much artificial intelligence is changing nowadays our way to do our job and how we interact in general. So from my point of view, where I see it is how I see it, I share what I can see from organizations, mostly in Europe, but also, especially in the emerging markets, how we can move into that direction, or how artificial intelligence can move different countries towards maybe, and this is, I think, a question mark at the end, maybe the direction that Europe or US are giving, but not necessarily the right direction. So in Europe, there is a big challenge in understanding how artificial intelligence can move organizations towards a real business value, which is honestly is not so easy to understand. ChatGPT again is an example. So generative AI is whatever, and it's absolutely powerful and it's fun to use. But what is the real value of it? Generative AI is on the peak of artificial intelligence, but if you look at artificial intelligence in a more traditional way, artificial intelligence already changed a lot of things. So we were talking before about simulation, for example. Now we are in the middle of climate change. And artificial intelligence can give a boost on how we are basically understanding the differences in the world in terms of how the weather is changing, the way we are running the business. So again, in Europe there is probably race against the US in trying to understand the basic of artificial intelligence, the baseline of artificial intelligence. So mostly how the technology can help artificial intelligence. But that is at the starting point to change the business. And again, coming from tech, I understand very well how the technology can impact. But most of the time you speak with organizations or countries, okay, tech is there, and so what? I had the luck. I'm also doing an executive MBA. I'm in the middle of an executive MBA with Said Business School at Oxford. And I had the luck to visit 2 countries recently. One is Saudi Arabia, and the other one is Brazil. 2 countries completely different. The 2 of them are implementing, the 2 of them are looking at artificial intelligence in completely different ways. The starting point, though, which is important, is the education. So I think that probably we mentioned, or we were speaking about it. So in my mind, what is the advantage of Europe and the US? And the starting point is education of the people. So we were saying about the change of people losing jobs because of artificial intelligence or having jobs because of artificial intelligence, which is a normal wave in any new technologies. It was with everything from the electricity to everything, literally. So AI is generating the same. And from this point of view, the potential that Brazil is putting, for example, is massive, because Brazil historically coming from agriculture. So they have very big knowledge into a specific field, which is nothing literally linked with the digital transformation. So they lack the education in digital transformation. So when I say you first thing you have to do is getting education into your country is the starting point to understand how to use tech. And here, for example, I jump into the other country as an example, Saudi Arabia. It's an excellent example to see how they are spending in education. There is a project, it's called the NEOM. And NEOM is the excellence of bringing all the smartest and brilliant people from all around just to get a baseline. It's not just AI. NEOM is a very big project. And this is the first difference between where Brazil is, very good position in terms of knowledge, not digital. Saudi Arabia, very good, honestly, money that they can spend in education to get the pace. Once you get this baseline, what you can do is joining what you are doing from an excellent point of view. And now I go back and I start from Saudi. I'm just using 2 examples also because of the time. So Saudi, in my view, that is absolutely personal, is they have no idea what to do with artificial intelligence. Because, of course, they come from an history of the country where, with oil in particular, they get with the economy very, very well, but now they are trying to transform the economy through innovation. But they have no strategy. Brazil, they have very interesting strategies in the use of agriculture and some other technologies, which is not linked with AI, but they lack the education. So, for example, they are the first country in agriculture to give precision agriculture. So all the companies in the tech market, they are going to Brazil to understand how they are doing this, and they are exporting this knowledge. So they have a very strong knowledge, but they have no idea how to join the education on the digital. Why I'm doing those 2 examples? So it's completely different countries, completely different positions. And it was also a point that you made when we were discussing is the strategy around what you want to do and how you want to achieve that point. And from my point of view, just to wrap up a little bit, is AI is nothing without 3 levels, I would say, which is, one is data, which can be, say, everyone has the data, we have the data everywhere, but still is a challenge. And the can-see in organization is a challenge, which is exactly the challenge going back to ChatGPT, and the race of artificial intelligence in Europe and the US is data. Which data, quality of data, who is certifying the data, which kind of data we are using. Then knowledge and information, because if I give you some data right now, are you able to understand what data is saying? Not necessarily. So agriculture is an example, taking Brazil. I can give you all the data Brazil is producing, but without the knowledge you do nothing. And then there is artificial intelligence on top, which is basically taking decisions with a system that can basically can take decisions 10, 100% faster, 100% times faster than what we can do. So the combination of the 3 things and linked to the emerging markets economy point of view, but there is where there is the opportunity, is combining the 3 levels with a strong knowledge of the specific country, where I'm not an expert of specific countries, but that is, in my opinion, the focus.
That's very good. Thank you for the recap, by the way. But before I also recap the messages, when you say strong knowledge of the company, just to clarify, is it the education or baseline of the country you mentioned, or is it more of the tech infrastructure?
So I think it's a combination of the 2 things. So one is investing in education, because education is the baseline, otherwise you cannot literally use the new tech or develop new technology. But the most important thing is, before starting a race in AI, which is just comparing, I was saying, Europe. Okay, Europe is doing this, let's do the same. No, it's let's leverage our ability, our knowledge, historical knowledge that we have. And the example of Brazil, we have a very strong knowledge of agriculture. Don't try to do ChatGPT, it doesn't make sense. Let's use AI with agriculture because it can be recognized. It can give a very big value worldwide. So I can get value back from the global ecosystem, because people literally, Italy, I'm originally from Italy, so Italy can go there to Brazil and say, oh, your expertise in this, through the use of artificial intelligence and technology, can give me a knowledge that it's coming from your competitive advantage of years of knowledge there. So it's a combination of education plus what you have historically. Not try to do necessarily something new or copy something that seems very, very good.
It's very clear. Before moving on to Michelle, just to recap, what I'm hearing is three main messages coming out. One is countries need to establish an educational baseline, regardless, on this topic. And we even had a conversation with Zafar that out of 200 universities in Turkey, there's only 5 that has AI engineering. So that's one. Second is specialize or leverage the country's competitive advantage. And the further is, regardless of everything, there is a more infrastructural lens on data availability, data quality, and then the ability to synthesize.
Yeah. Right. Those are the 3. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Moving on to Vishal, how would you comment on the same question, which was, again, referring back to the question, is essentially, what are the key economic opportunities and challenges for developing countries as they adopt and leverage AI?
Great. So thank you, Turgut, and thank you, everybody, for the invitation here. It's a pleasure to be speaking at this wonderful venue and covering this really interesting topic. So by way of context, what my company does is look at quantum computing technology and how this can create the next generation of artificial intelligence. So we, using quantum machine learning, work with clients across industries from healthcare, life sciences, to energy, to finance, to solve some of their most complex challenges and see kind of how quantum machine learning can solve it differently, better in many ways. So coming to today's topic, I think, look, AI, we know, is already creating enormous impact in many ways. As we've seen today, it's helping us create content, it's helping us research better, it's helping us code in so many ways, right? And for us, we see this as just really the beginning of the journey. It's really the beginning of the journey because there's a lot more we can take from here. And as I said, our background's in quantum computing, so we see quantum will be able to supercharge the pace of development that we see in AI today already. But having thought about that, and it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all. So I think it's really important for us to have discussions like this, where we look at the holistic perspective of what is the impact of AI on the world around us. So in developing economies, I think if you look at what are some of the potential opportunities that are emerging, the most obvious ones are around productivity, economic efficiency, in how we, as I said, create content, write, consume content, create music, and create so many different things. And that we see as being, again, supercharged or advanced further, the new paradigm opening up with quantum computing, because quantum computing has, is non-deterministic, non-probabilistic by nature, probabilistic by nature. So what that means is, you don't just learn from patterns, you create new content. So it creates a new level of creativity and imagination which can be unlocked. But despite all that, I think the biggest opportunity really is in entrepreneurship and innovation in developing economies. In many ways, I see the advancement or the explosion of generative AI and LLMs and ChatGPT as somehow being the iPhone moment of this technology. About 15 years ago when the iPhone came out, you suddenly had access to this great platform, this incredible technology, where almost anyone could develop applications, could apply it to solve local, hyper-local, hyper-personalized problems. And we see the ability to have plugins into platforms like ChatGPT as a very strong parallel to that moment. So the biggest impact we see is that using this foundational platform can drive economic development, entrepreneurship, and innovation at a very ground-up level around the world, which we are very excited about. In addition to that, I think there's also the opportunity for developing economies to take a generational leap. You know, it's a pedestal to take a generational leap ahead in terms of digital innovation. So as we saw with, again, the mobile phone industry and telephony, you know, a lot of emerging economies almost skipped the landline generation and went straight to the mobile phone generation. So again, with this advancement of these new technologies around generative AI, LLMs, and how they're being so easy to access, it's this opportunity to kind of skip ahead, which we find very exciting. But of course, there's some dangers and risk associated with all of this as well. So for me, if you think about, you know, some of the biggest challenges that we face for that developing economies face around this is, in particular, the cost of compute. Now, what this new generative AI wave has created is this explosion in the cost of compute. So that cost, to be clear, is an economic cost, but also an environmental cost that comes with that. So that explosion in the cost of compute means that users do need to pay. So there is a tokenization and a monetization impact of doing this. And there is a risk that that kind of creates a leveling field that is, or unequal level field, because those with money would be able to then pay for the cost of compute of training and inference of large-scale models. And there's a risk that while this opportunity exists, this kind of risk, this cost of compute can limit access in some ways. Another big danger that we see is in the data. In the data quality, of course, but also in the data that's there. A lot of the data that's been generated has been generated from the more digitized economies around the world. And the more digitized economies around the world have been the more developed economies around the world. And all the AI models have been trained with this data. So the personalization and contextualization of this to local flavors, to economies which have been less digitized than others, is kind of a lack. So that there's a risk that this creates biases in the model to where the data has come from, which is a risk that we need to see. And of course the educational, so the risk of kind of replacement of jobs, as we talked about, and the need for people to re-educate themselves is extremely important. So to address these different challenges, what we see is, you know, what's really important is new models that can be more efficient in how we compute. You know, we've got quantum software techniques that can help with that, be more efficient in how we compute, get better learning capacity, better generalization, so you can learn with less data and apply it to a more generalized context. And we see that as being really important as the pathway to addressing some of these challenges, in addition to the challenges we already talked about around training, infrastructure, and connectivity. So again, it's been a pleasure to talk here today. I look forward to discussing further with the rest of the group.
Thank you. That's great. Before recapping, one question. There was a very nice kind of metaphor, at least example, of some countries skipping landlines and going directly to kind of broadband, wireless in a sense. Do you see a future where some developing countries directly start leveraging quantum tech to kind of supercharge AI, regardless of like ignoring the cost aspect of it, because I do not, there's that aspect, but do you see some countries rapidly accelerating how they continue by leveraging kind of quantum tech while developed nations are being more cost conscious?
Yeah. I think the key to enabling that is accessibility and application development, right? So if you develop applications that harness this great power in a way that can be accessed by someone that doesn't need to know the quantum physics and mechanics behind it, that will unlock this whole new door. So I think it's possible, but there's some way to go from the industry to develop that.
It's very exciting. So in a nutshell, what really stuck with me, and we are using AI to summarize everything, so I'm not trying to race or compete, but